If you're that guy and you just came off a draw, I think rematching will be the most competitive thing to do as an athlete. With the Jake Paul situation, is like, it's a money grab fight.
Davis was in a bit of a hole, and he gets an opportunity to fight Jake Paul for $200 million or whatever. I don't mind it at all. As long as Gervonta Davis comes back to the world of boxing after he gets done with this, hey man, you got your money, no worries.
Fight is drawing closer as Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis prepare for their big clash. Jake is seen focusing on his power and size, while Tank improves his speed and knockout shots. Both camps are completely focused, and the intensity rises as fans watch each fighter prepare for one of the most anticipated matches.
I don't get it.
Yeah, this Santa Cruz right here, the desert. You can't let it burn, baby, let it burn. Mind over matter, son, mind over matter.
This is the blues on.
Ain't nobody doing no shit like this. Come in the desert. Trying to stay away from the desert. He come in the desert.
Shakur Stevenson shared his thoughts on the current trend of unexpected boxing fights. He contended that while matches like Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis bring little value to the sport, a battle like Floyd Mayweather vs. Mike Tyson carries a different weight. In his opinion, both Mayweather and Tyson are legends who have already established their legacies if they want to return to the ring to make money. It should not be interpreted as harmful to boxing. Stevenson emphasized that such events evoke nostalgia in followers while without diminishing the sport in the same way that celebrity-style exhibitions do.
Bad for the sport of boxing.
I mean, I feel like in Floyd and Tyson situation is different than Jake Paul and Buddy. I feel like with Floyd and Tyson, it's like, okay, y'all deserve it. Y'all legends, y'all paid homage, y'all did the most for the sport of boxing already. So you deserve a big payday and be cool. I'm cool with it. I like it. But with Jake and Buddy, I feel like Buddy is a participate in the sport of boxing right now, and he just came off a draw his last fight. So if you're a real champion and top level guy that you say you are, which I think you are too, I think you're the truth. But if you're that guy and you just came off a draw, I think rematching will be the most competitive thing to do as an athlete. With the Jake Paul situation, is like, it's a money grab fight. So to me, it's like some WWE shit.
Do you think it helps? Like, I mean, okay, so he gets this fight with Jake. His value goes up.
No, it doesn't.
You don't? It don't?
Not in the sport of boxing.
You don't think
it may.
The demand more because he's, you know, because when we looked at the was a Floyd and
just hypothetical. You know, we speak hypotheticals at time, right? You go in there and that big ass nigga knock him the fuck out. I'm just saying hypothetical. Go in there and knock Tank the fuck out.
That big ass nigga being Jake Paul.
Yes.
Okay, just
knock him the fuck out. Because he's bigger than him.
Yeah.
For one. By chance, it is a fight.
I think the thing is with Buddy and Jake fight, I feel like it's two sides of me with it. Because from a competitive aspect and me being the mentality that I got, I feel as though I probably would have done a rematch.
Yeah.
But then from a business aspect, if I would have done the rematch and I did not win the fight, the Jake Paul fight will be a lot less money and a lot less lucrative. So,
you think so?
From a business aspect, I understand that anybody that with a business mind probably would have took that fight for as much money as it was. So I'm a realist. Like, I ain't gonna just bash, bro.
No.
When questioned about Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis' next fight, see President Dana White spoke bluntly. White noted that relatively few supporters were genuinely enthused about the contest, but allowed that it could benefit Davis. Davis had been subjected to public scrutiny and challenges outside of the ring, which slowed his pace. Jake Paul made a cash offer during this difficult moment. White said that, while the event is being derided, it has the potential to provide Davis with visibility and earnings at a time when he most needs them. White surprised many by claiming that Jake Paul could realistically defeat Gervonta Davis. His explanation was not based on technical boxing abilities, but on pure force. White stressed Paul's size, strength, and reach advantages, whereas Davis, though powerful, is much smaller and used to fighting lighter fighters. For White, the outcome of such a battle would be determined not by who was the superior boxer, but by Davis' ability to overcome Paul's overpowering natural characteristics in the ring.
Jake Paul to beat Gervonta Davis. This is not a fight that I'm excited for at all. I would rather have Gervonta Davis fighting in a real boxing match against the likes of Lamont Roach, Shakur Stevenson, Keyshawn Davis, Emmanuel Navarrete, anybody that is in the 135-pound division and around. That's where I want to see Gervonta Davis fight. However, we live in a world where everybody is trying to do things as big as possible. And the biggest fights possible right now, unfortunately for the sport of boxing, is an exhibition fight between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis. So I do like it for this reason, though. I like it because it is allowing Gervonta Davis to have a fight that is going to be big and that the mainstream media is going to have to cover, the mainstream media outside the world of boxing. Gervonta Davis has been, without a doubt, blocked, having venues blocked, having fighters, having other promoters paying fighters away to go different directions from Gervonta Davis. So Gervonta Davis was in a bit of a hole. And he gets an opportunity to fight Jake Paul for $200 million or whatever. I don't mind it at all. As long as Gervonta Davis comes back to the world of boxing after he gets done with this, hey man, you got your money, no worries. But you gotta love Dana White having the audacity to pick Jake Paul in this fight.
Former world champion Paulie Malignaggi spoke candidly about Terence Crawford's potential fight with Jake Paul. While he acknowledged Crawford as an exceptional fighter with one of the strongest skill sets in modern boxing, he also warned that size disadvantages might occasionally overcome technical ability. Malignaggi said that history has repeatedly shown smaller champions getting into difficulty when they move up too far in weight. He underlined that Jake Paul's natural build, paired with his raw punching power, might pose severe challenges for Crawford, despite his superior technique. For Malignaggi, the issue is not talent, but rather physical limitations. Boxing is still a sport that emphasizes size, strength, and durability. He indicated that even a fighter as quick and adaptive as Crawford may find it extremely risky to face someone who vastly outweighs him, demonstrating that talent cannot always compensate for size disadvantages.
I think Davis is more to lose because he's the bona fide world champion. I don't care if he's much smaller. I think Jake Paul has sort of plateaued as far as where his boxing is concerned. It's rather low level. Yeah. He's big, he's physical, he's strong, he can hit. So there is that risk. Davis, at lightweight, you're in a moment where it's too physical for you. You can clinch. Against the heavyweight, where you clinching? You ain't getting out of that corner just clinching anymore if you run out of space. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. But Davis, listen, there's a lot of talking points that I'm sure we'll get into when this gets closer to the fight. Davis can still punch at lightweight. Can he drop a heavyweight? There's a lot to gain there, right? If Davis knocks
the answer is yes.
If Davis drops Jake on his ass, as much as Davis is the one with more to lose, it's still a highlight moment.
A visual that will stay forever.
Yeah. But if you get dropped, even if you're smaller, you're still a world champion, multiple weight classes. If you get dropped, what's the look? What's the feel? On the inside, as boxers, me and Chris Algieri, the champ, even you, Jimmy, you have fight experience. So we know that the risk is a big guy that big hits you. You're probably going down if you're a small guy, if he hits you clean. So we know the risk, but how does it look to the public eye who don't understand that? You know what I mean? So there is a lot to lose, though. There's a bit to gain. I wouldn't necessarily have an issue with this had Davis's career arc been one that benefited boxing. Davis was manufactured and put into a position where he's supposed to benefit boxing. And I don't think he has. I think he's hurt boxing. So by giving him this reward, that's my problem. Why are we watching this? Why don't you make him earn his spot that he still hasn't earned, mind you?
Analysts stated that the organizers were compelled to make a significant change when the initially planned venue declined to host the highly anticipated showdown. Local officials apparently rejected it as more of a circus show than a serious sporting competition, resulting in a complete rejection to approve. Many were surprised by this choice, as the first location was thought to be excellent for attracting a huge crowd and producing significant cash. Instead of postponing or canceling the event, promoters hurried to find another venue that would welcome the spectacle. Within days, they found a new location eager to host the battle, assuring that the event would go forward as planned. However, this abrupt shift has raised concerns about the fight's overall legitimacy. Detractors claim that if a prestigious facility rejects it, the contest itself may lack sporting merit. Many people now believe that the matchup is motivated by entertainment and money rather than actual competitive merit. The abrupt shift has been a talking topic, with some commentators claiming that the controversy surrounding the venue change highlights the ongoing dispute over whether these crossover matches belong in the boxing world at all.
35 pounds. Jake Paul is over 50 pounds heavier than Gervonta Tank Davis, and he's nearly a foot taller than Gervonta Tank Davis. So no sanction body wants to, and no commission wants to, should I say, I keep saying sanction body, no commission wants to sanction it. They don't want to be a part of it, as I told you guys. So they announced that the fight was going to take place November 14th in Atlanta at the State Farm Arena where the Atlanta Hawks play. And the Georgia Athletic Commission, he came out and he made a serious statement. And he let the world know that they falsely advertised this fight, okay? Because no commission won't sanction it to be a real boxing match, let alone they're not even interested in allowing it to be an exhibition, okay? They don't even want it to be, they don't even want to be responsible for an exhibition of this magnitude, right? So he comes out and he says, the commission, the head of the Georgia Commission, he comes out, he says, quote, I believe it's in the public's interest to know because they've been promoting something they should not have been promoting. It's the dumbest thing I ever heard. It's a money grabber, and I'm not okay with that. So they telling him it's just for the money.
Carl Froch, a retired champion, commented on Jake Paul's career, claiming that it was primarily motivated by money. Froch contended that Paul is not seeking boxing greatness, but rather financial opportunity. According to him, Paul chooses opponents based on what would garner the most attention and income, rather than what will present the most difficult hurdle. Froch said that while this method is effective in terms of marketing, it inhibits Paul from acquiring recognition as a legitimate rival in the sport.
He mentioned me before, and there'll be people out there saying, oh, Carl Froch's talking about himself, he's after a payday. Listen, I'm not after a payday. I'm doing all right. There's no problems with my finances, but I'll take the fucking payday, of course I will, and I'll end Jake Paul with one punch. I'd go in there one-armed and beat this guy. He can't box. He's absolutely fucking useless, which we saw last night with Mike Tyson. Talking about Canelo Alvarez. I've not mentioned Canelo Alvarez because it's just laughable. Jake Paul, Canelo Alvarez. Can you imagine? I mean, if Jake Paul fancies that and he jumps in the ring with him, I will pay homage to him because fair play. If he jumps in there with Canelo Alvarez, he'll get absolutely fucking destroyed and it will be fast and it will be messy and it will be bad for his health as well, potentially.
Nate Diaz, an MMA fighter, rejected the matchup completely, stating he didn't even want to make a prediction. Diaz believes that the fight is not a true combat, but rather a spectacle intended to increase pay-per-view sales. He attacked boxing's direction for relying too heavily on contrived events, which he says has harmed the sport's credibility. Diaz stated that such battles are not about competition, but rather about profit. As a result, he is unable to approach them as serious sporting activities.
I gotta ask you, Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis. Does Davis have a chance?
Gervonta is a great boxer, but he ain't gonna be.
So you got Jake Paul by knockout, or?
No, I don't got anybody, but I don't think.
He's just too small.
It just. I don't want to beat up somebody that small. I don't want to. You know what I'm saying?
What do you think of the fight?
I don't want to lose to somebody that. There's no point in the fight. It's a great fight, actually. I'm not hating on the fight, but I think. My thoughts on it is let's watch and see what happens.
Ryan Garcia said that boxing is turning into WWE.
Yeah,
with that type of matchup. What do you agree? Last thing, White House card, like he said, you want Conor McGregor?
Yeah, but the whole thing's on WWE, so
right.
It's like, at least that's happening and it's getting something to talk about, something to watch, and I'm looking forward to that fight, actually.
One of the most contentious aspects of Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis' prospective clash is the stark contrast in their size and physical characteristics. Jake Paul, who has competed against larger opponents and carries significantly more weight, has an obvious advantage in height, reach, and overall size. In contrast, Gervonta Davis is a 5'5" boxer who normally competes at 130 pounds, excelling in divisions where his explosiveness and hitting power have made him a feared presence. Davis' defining strength against opponents with a similar build has been his ability to close the distance and deliver fight-ending punches. However, when faced with someone as large and physically formidable as Paul, questions soon arise regarding whether his authority is sufficient to level the playing field. Analysts are concerned that Davis may struggle to penetrate inside without taking punishing shots from the much larger Paul, whose bulk allows him to control distance more effectively. The debate frequently returns to whether ability and speed can overcome such a significant physical disadvantage. While some fans believe Davis' explosiveness gives him a shot, many others believe the sheer size difference will make this bout far more hazardous than competitive.
Holy shit, Jake Paul versus Tank Davis is actually happening. What the is going on? I guess Tank is going broke because that's the only justifiable reason you ruin your legacy against a guy like Jake Paul. And yes, I do think Jake Paul is going to win. Tank Davis is a much better boxer and has crazy power, but he's 5'5", 130. That power is not going to carry over against someone who is 6'1", 210. And it's not like Jake is bad. Yes, his fights are boring. He says he's going to step in the ring and sleep his opponents, but the only people who end up sleeping are the audience. Mike Tyson fight. But at the end of the day, he's a big guy with power who's training boxing full time, and he has beaten some legitimate competition. Woodley, Nate Diaz, Anderson Silva, Mike Perry had a competitive fight with Tommy Fury, but it's crazy how particular Jake has to be when selecting his opponents. They have to have enough clout to be interesting, enough skill to be taken seriously as a threat, but at the same time have clear weaknesses and disadvantages that Jake and his team can exploit to win. Now that he's fighting an elite boxer, he has to fight someone 7 weight classes down. I mean, Tank could win if he makes Jake do a very aggressive weight cut, but I just don't see that happening. I got Jake by 3rd round TKO. He should put me on the co-main event and allow me to fight Francis Ngannou. That would be an easy first round knockout for myself.
Fans and commentators have both voiced irritation with the way atypical fights have dominated headlines in recent years. The proposed showdown between Jake Paul and Davis has been highlighted as an example of this concerning tendency. Instead, than focusing on important fights that crown new champions or resolve rivalries, promoters are increasingly pushing spectacles that blur the lines between sport and entertainment. Critics argue that this trend weakens boxing's tradition and disappoints purists who anticipate competitive bouts that showcase the finest skill rather than events staged solely for media interest.
So breaking news, Jake Paul will be taking on Tank Davis in an exhibition on November 15th in Atlanta, Georgia, live on Netflix. And this is crazy for multiple reasons. One, they have a huge size difference. Tank Davis, he's a lightweight, normally fights at 135 pounds. And Jake Paul, he's a cruiserweight, usually fights at 200 pounds. So there's a good 60 to 65 pound difference here. It could also mean that Tank Davis is no longer interested in competing for titles anymore and is cashing out of boxing. You know, there's been a lot of talks that Tank is nearing retirement this year, and he was supposed to rematch Lamar Roach after their first fight went to a draw. But instead of chasing the Roach rematch, instead he takes the Jake Paul fight for money. So maybe this is Tank's last, or one of his last fights. And same for Jake Paul. He just got ranked number 14 at cruiserweight after beating Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. So he's supposed to be fighting other ranked contenders or top guys at cruiserweight. But instead, he's taking a money fight. But I do expect these two to go after each other. Even though it is an exhibition, I don't think it'll just be some boring sparring match. I do think they'll try a decent amount. But Tank, obviously, is a lot more skilled. Jake, he has a lot more size. But you guys let me know who you got.
Analysts evaluating the Paul brothers' success pointed out that their strategy has always been based on maximizing attention. He explained that Logan and Jake are unconcerned about detractors because every dispute generates more interest. Whether praised or mocked, they continue to dominate the conversation by organizing divisive events. In this light, their choice of opponents is less about boxing accomplishment and more about making headlines. According to this viewpoint, the brothers' ability to remain in the spotlight is the most important factor in ensuring their continuing presence in the sport, regardless of fan opinion.
It's like blockbuster events. They don't look at them as sporting events. They look at them as spectacle. I mean, Logan's in the fucking WWE, for God's sake. That's the way they look at it. And that's the way Jake looks at these kind of events. He does, because he's fighting Gervonta Davis. And to any sports, hardcore, competition, morale, effort, you know, legacy, hierarchy, minded sports person, none of it makes any sense. Because we go, well, no, Gervonta is not in Jake's weight class. What does that prove? We do sport to prove who's better at sport, not with inherent advantages or disadvantages or XYZ. Logan, and I guess Jake for that matter, look at these like, we want to get the most eyes possible regardless of what people say. We, and I think that Logan and Jake both believe this, because of the disadvantages we came into the sport with, if we are to do better than people expected, or if we're able to win or knock someone out, then we're better. Which is not true, because there's massive disadvantages on the other end. I would say that outweigh the disadvantages on their end, at least Jake's end. The way they market these things and act like if I beat Gervonta, I'm better, or if Logan was like, I beat Floyd and I'm the best boxer in the world, when Floyd wasn't the best boxer when Logan fought him, and also it was a 60-pound weight difference. Like, the way they categorize and narrative shape around it is the thing people get upset about.
That's all for today's video. Stay tuned. Until the next